Hey, well, welcome to an Insight Line with the AHRK Path. My name is Casey Cox, and it is a joy to continue to walk down this journey with you, no matter what time of the year it is. We have doing this session here the week of Christmas, and we're walking into the fact that gift giving is abundant. People around the world right now are recognizing that to give a gift is even better than to receive a gift, because when you have something to give, you have something. I mean, we just think about that. It's like, hey, why is it better to give than receive? Is because when you have something to give, you have more. You have better. You have opportunity. And that is what we're going to focus on today is what do we have to give? And what we have to give along the AHRK path is what we call life betterment. Life betterment is an opportunity for you and I and every individual to come into an experience to go, I wonder what better looks like. And it's a mindset. It's a choice of leadership. It's a recognition that I need community around me to find a lifestyle for me to be able to communicate out that I have found a lifestyle path of better choices. And we know and we accept that that's not easy. It's not always even so simple. So we've done what we can on AHRK to come alongside you and go, let me break it down. Let me make it one step at a time. Let's build some habits that can build in a practice that help me to reset when I get triggered, that can help me to see the options when I become blinded, that move me into an experience where when I feel stuck, I find the leverage to move me forward. And that is what AHRK is all about. It's about acknowledging each moment. And we acknowledge that with a simple breath. In this journey, when you believe that you have the choice of breath, how you breathe, when you breathe, how long you breathe, acknowledgement becomes a pathway forward. A lot of us assume we're breathing. We do it subconsciously. So we're calling into the conscious choice. I'm going to acknowledge my breath. And it's not just about breath work. I do believe it's powerful. I do believe it's a first step. But we're going to move into acknowledgement that leads us into a path of healing. And again, now it's a second breath. And it's an inhale of that which serves me, leads me, guides me, resources me. And it's an exhale of that which holds me back, which holds me down, what hurts me. And then another breath is restoration, the choice to build, to invest, to believe that more is possible, that better even exists. For something better to come, first we release what's holding us back, and then we take in which is going to resource us. So we acknowledge, we heal, we restore, and we repeat, and we repeat, and we repeat. Our goal here is to come touch the kingdom place, the kingdom moment, the kingdom understanding, the kingdom identity. And what does all of that mean is that you were designed with purpose. So along the AHRK path, when you know your purpose, you're touching that kingdom place. And what's even better than knowing your purpose is living it out on a daily expression. To believe that with passion, you can exert that to change the world. That is amazing. This is the AHRK path to acknowledge, heal, restore, and have a kingdom moment that we can extend for our lifetime that says, my purpose is to make the world a better place in a unique way, in a personal way, in something that is designed for you to go forward. And while this is a very individual act along the AHRK path, we also see this in a corporate setting. Community is one of our 5 pillars of focus. And so how do we go about going from a very individual lens to a very corporate lens, corporate being both multiple people, but also to business? We bring team building. Team building is where we acknowledge power. Power can be both positive and negative, and we need to know both sources. It's where we actually begin to heal brokenness. Brokenness is what limits. It's what holds us back and holds us down. And we're going to bring into healing the possibility of being full and restored and understanding this. So then our restoration is about restoring authority. There is a power that needs to be healed for your authority to be full. And when your power, healing, and authority come together, you have a kingdom expression. This is the heartbeat, my friends, of team building. And I have asked a friend of mine who didn't know anything about team building in the AHRK mentality, who does know quite a bit about team building outside of AHRK, to come experience team building with us. And he's here today after 3 sessions of team building to share some of his insights, to ask me maybe some good questions, because he's a question asker, and I'm opened up to this. Am I ready for Tim Truesdale to join me on the AHRK path of Insight Line? I am. And I hope you are as well. Tim, thanks for joining me today. How are you?
Well, thanks, Casey, and thanks, AHRK team. The temperature outside is about negative 22 Celsius, Kansas City. And today, believe it or not, is a snow day. So I'm glad to
Oh,
be here.
well, and you know that I'm in Southern California and the temperature outside is amazing. It's beautiful. It's sunny. It's probably about 68, somewhere in there. So I'm suffering in California. You're celebrating back in Kansas City, because actually I would prefer a snow day today, but I'm not going to get it. But Tim, thanks for joining me. Tim, before we jump into team building, I got asked yesterday, how did I meet you? Do you remember how we met, Tim? I think I do, but do you?
Sure. So I'm a Rotarian, and I know you have been as well. And so I believe we met when I was doing a makeup, could have been in San Dimas
Yep.
area.
So here's the beauty of the relationship between Tim and I. I'm a member of the San Dimas Rotary. I meet with a Rotary every Wednesday about noon. Tim was in town and needed to do a makeup. That's a Rotarian concept that we understand. And Tim showed up at my Rotary meeting, not really mine, but it's where my city is and I gather. And we met each other. And there was this instant moment of, there's a chemistry. I like this guy. And in that element, Tim and I started building team. Think about this. We had no idea who we were each other, except we had chemistry. We acknowledged power in each other. Am I correct, Tim?
Absolutely.
And then we began to go down the path of recognizing that we might have some commonalities. So we healed a brokenness. The brokenness was represented by just a lack of connection. And very quickly, we recognized that we had a mutual friend who is Tim's cousin. I believe, that's that cousin of yours. And I had a friendship that we had extensive connections. And so as we healed brokenness, which was separation, and then we moved into restoring authority, we had an instant affirmation of one another, because our authority lines were, hey, if you and I have a mutual friend, your family member, my friend, that we both hold on a very high platform, and this individual holds both of us on a high platform, guess what? Now we have authority together. Tim, I'm unpacking how team building works in the natural business realm. And now together we share a kingdom expression of value, of independence, of mutuality, and wanting to work together. Is that how we met, Tim? I'm just confirming that.
Absolutely. We keep on thinking, how can we work together, just as we have different opportunities arise? So it's been really cool.
And we're just looking for ways to play. This is where I bring in team building. Team building is discovered in an element of play. Tim, you have joined 3 sessions of team building. You just jumped in on our virtual portal. You didn't have to come in. Each one of them lasted about 30 minutes. What are some of your initial takeaways from Team Building 1? And then you can pull that into what are you reflecting on today as Team Building 1, 2, and 3?
Well, the invitation left me with some questions when you and ended up sliding into my DM and come to this thing about an hour or 2 hours before it was going to occur. But because I know you, and because I happened to have a half hour there, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and see what this is, because if Casey's on it, it's worth checking out.
Love that.
So
Thank you for the affirmation. And you checked it out. Talk to people who haven't had that, hey, if Casey's on it and I've got half an hour, I'm going to come in and join it. It's a very low bar here, folks. The low bar was Tim was available and I had some chips that he could cash. I'm going to spend 30 minutes. What was your takeaway, Tim?
Most of the things that I do are first of all, most of the things I do, I lead. That's generally one of the characteristics of things that I'm involved in, not because I want to, but just because I'm at that level within the organization and the groups that I'm involved with. So it was refreshing and a little bit scary to not know where the thing was going and what exactly was happening. I had to check in with you, Casey, afterwards to say what just happened. Like from your perspective, it was certainly nothing that was disturbing at all. It was completely enjoyable experience, but I just needed to understand more context initially.
Let me maybe try to unpack that a little bit, because when we do team building, we do what I call gameplay. And a lot of gameplay we leave behind in elementary school or in our younger years, but in our younger years, it's where we're the most creative. It's where we're given permission to dream. We can go on a playground level and just make friends. Hey, you want to play tag? Let's play tag. You're it, go. That's how long it takes children on a playground to team build. You want to play? Let's play. Let's go. This is why I sent Tim the invite only 30 minutes before, because it was like playing tag. Hey, are you free? Come join me. Let's go. And so Insight Line today is your tag. And Tim came in and played a game that was a little bit disarming because it's not your normal setting of learning. Pull us into a couple more sessions, Tim. Now you've seen how it plays out, what we're doing. What's going on?
When I talked to you after the first session, my perspective was that this is about helping people get outside of the box of whatever. And in my case, the idea of bringing play and fun into the workplace can be, it's clearly emphasized and important, but oftentimes it's approached from the perspective of a training, a teaching, I'm going to sit and listen and you're going to teach me about play and fun. This completely turned that on its head. It said, hey, come and play, which is a very different approach than come and learn.
Love that you're highlighting the shift here. Could you give a listener an experience of what that means to come and play? Because it's okay if you share a secret. It's okay if you let them know behind what I might say the veil. There's no Wizard of Oz here experience where there's a secret wizard behind a screen trying to make this bigger and better. It's just a reality of what we're doing.
So each of the experiences that I joined, we were instantly given a game to play, and the rules were quite simple in each of the 3 occasions that I stopped in, and we could get right to it. And it was an instant kind of, first of all, kind of a transcendent experience, moving me away from whatever else I was engaged with and focused on and concentrating on that day, which is really helpful for me. Doesn't always happen. Sometimes I'm just in a groove and it's hard for me to come up and spend any time doing anything else, which I found very refreshing. But also, there was like no jeopardy. Nothing was there was no risk. There was nothing in jeopardy about me participating in the experience. It was just about being in the flow and just about having fun. And that was an incredible break for me in my day, and left me refreshed, honestly, after 30 minutes of participating.
Love that. I'm gonna Tim, I'm in the studio here in San Dimas. Bernard is gonna join me. Bernard, you can join on screen. Tim, I want to bounce it over to you to ask one of us a question. I'm bringing Bernard on only because as I might be the gameplay master, Bernard is the visionary that kind of sees a big picture. And I do want to acknowledge Bernard came to me and said, hey, is there a way we can do team building with AHRK? Because I think it's a must. We need to get into people like Tim's life and invite them to experience AHRK differently. So Tim, you just shared how this is different. You're welcome to ask Bernard a question. You're welcome to ask myself a question. I just thought I'd bring him in because he was listening in the room, and I know he always wants to give an answer.
Hey, Tim.
he's off camera going, oh, I would love to jump in on that one. So thanks for joining, Bernard.
Yes, I love it.
So Tim, I'm going to give it back to you first. What is a question you would like to hear the answer that maybe a associate of yours is going to ask that you'd like to know our answer? Or what is it that just has piqued your interest that we could come alongside with you in this process?
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for coming on, Bernard. I guess my first question for you Where did you get that scarf, sir?
Great question. So this came out of love. My family wanted to celebrate me. It's a couple years ago, and you know, uh, I get myself some stuff within some that I celebrate me. But again, I so love getting gifts and to be celebrated by my family. So this was from my wife and children. So I celebrate it the most out of the scarves that I have.
And I told you we're in Southern California. It is a beautiful day. There's no need for a
There's no
scarf
need.
today,
But it's winter.
it is winter, and it invites you into Bernard as, and this is just for anybody that's on the ARC path with us. Accessorizing is not excessive. It is a statement of connection. And that's I'm just inviting people to get to know Bernard. There's a reason why he wore the scarf today. Tim, you didn't know it, but it was so you could ask him about it. Well done, Tim.
Well, first of all, because I knew you're in Southern California, and I was thinking, did he come from in and out with that on? And it could have been. So that's different from where I'm at. But the reason I'm asking from my own perspective is that I'm doing a lot of work in South Asia personally, cross culturally, and as my experience in working in companies, cross cultural, no matter what we're talking about, that is the more significant dynamic, far more significant skilling up, far more significant than authority or lines of communication is the whole issue of culture. And to consider how could there be an on-ramp into a methodology to help us through play learn how to be better cross-culturally. So I guess for you two, how play into your motives for building this or your experience in terms of cross-cultural activities?
So, gosh, love the question, by the way. And because you added culturally at the end, which really gave it just a beautiful element. We are different cultures. We are different cultures. I mean, it's as you know, anybody that meditates on life and humanity, you recognize the myriad of cultures. There's cultures within cultures within cultures, and you come to the point where we ended up is going, everybody's unique. And so so if we're going to be doing content and helping people out, there's 8 billion people in the world. You need 8 billion systems to connect 8 billion people. And then it becomes daunting to a point where going, I don't even want to touch it. But what we found is there's one thing that connects 8 billion people, and culturally and globally, and it's this K right here. So there is a kingdom reality that connects all of us, but that's unique to 8 billion people. And so for me, I can sit here and I can go, I know you because culturally we are different, but you celebrate life, and you have a kingdom, I guess, goal that you want to attain in every part of your life. But everybody that you're talking to has that same goal. They desire, they need to have that kingdom mindset, where those kingdom experiences in all of their lives. They just don't know the word. And so we have the joy and desire. When we launched the ARC Path, everybody's like, we love it. Can you get rid of the K? And we looked at it, go, can we get rid of everything else and just keep the K because that's all you need? And that's the reality. That's and then you can, everything I just said, culturally, because we are all uniquely cultured in the kingdom.
I'd love to build on top of that. A little history. ARC as a program was built on a global stage. And so it was designed to connect with individuals who were going to go on a cruise ship to work for a contract. And the question that was really posed to me by Bernard before ARC existed was, what can we do to create a better experience for individuals living on cruise ships that isn't a Groundhog Day where every day is getting worse? And how can we invite them into a pathway and a process of finding life betterment when it's still Groundhog Day. And there's an insight there. We can unpack that. But doing that required us the cross-cultural experience of our teams that were going to be trained to live and work on ships was global. And so of 150 people that initially went through this first portal of training, there was maybe 10 Americans. And those 10 Americans were already cross-culturally corrupted. Meaning they'd worked on ships before or had a global lens, and they were coming in to an expectation. So as Bernard says, there are people that say, get rid of K, just give me AH and R. We said we can. But without K being a kingdom stance, we won't all have a celebration. We won't all know how to be reaching for better, for more, and the reason behind it. So yes, K can have a spiritual significance, but it has a global cultural relevance, because nobody wakes up in the morning and says, how can I destroy my life today? They really don't. They can give up and recognize, I have a pattern of destroying my life, and today will be the same day as yesterday. This is the downward destruction path. But nobody wakes up and says, I wonder what I can do today to be more miserable. I wonder what I can do today to bring more pain. I wonder what I can do today to really ruin my existence. It's not the point. AHRK shows you the other way. That was a lot, Tim, from both of us, but thank you for letting us answer. You have a different, follow up that or clarify?
Yeah, so I'm really interested in the on-ramps into this mindset. I'm just going to put it that way. So can you tell me how you got to where you are and where you're planning to take this in terms of on-ramps?
I'm going to let Bernard answer first. I'm going to invite people back to recognize this is called the insight line. And so AHRK Insight Line is asking questions to get a little bit of insight into what we call the line. The line exists, and there's life above the line and there's life below the line. We're all living either above the line or below the line all the time. What the AHRK path invites you to is, as Tim called it, the mindset is that being above the line can happen in a moment. It's not work. It's not effort. It's a choice. So with that, that's why that question is so powerful.
Yeah. Well, again, love the question, because it really, it's personal, and it's I want to use personal, and it's intimate. So you just ask something that was very intimate. The AHRK path and the AHRK program is personal. It's my personal expression. It's Casey's personal expression, but it was first designed or brought together for me, and then for my children and my wife, and for my family, for my friends, for my community, and so on. It's because it's personal. I want life betterment for me. I want a kingdom reality for me and my family, and it's something that I don't want to give education and knowledge away. I want to give the joy that I have in my life away. So when Casey went out to the ships, and he went out to go train our people so they have better lives, and we didn't set out to educate. So it wasn't like, hey, okay, where do you come from? Let me educate you. And it wasn't like that. It's how do we love on people and inviting them into a kingdom mindset, into a kingdom reality that we live into today, and knowing that the majority of them are going to look at it and go, that's insane. You live in a la land. I'm going to listen to you because I have to, but it's crazy. I promise you, our words got in, not because we were educating, we were loving on them, sharing our encounters. And what happened is many of them came back days later, some years later, and they go, man, those words, I couldn't get it out of my head. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's, well, we're just getting started. So the on-ramp is, you just got the AHRK path. It's in you. It's in you. You're going to hold that kingdom, that K, everything. Whoever's watching this right now is going to hold that K going. You can put an X in your mind on that K, but it will continue to resonate in your mind that there is a K that's supposed to guide your life. And for us, that is the on-ramp, is the more that we tell people there is a kingdom reality that governs your life, are you reaching for it? Do you have an awareness of it? And that's the on-ramp, is it's one person at a time, but it's one person that influences hundreds, another person that influences hundreds. And so the on-ramp is it's changing one person at a time.
Expanding that answer, just because it's fun, we keep pressing into what is a natural expression of our hearts. So a natural expression of Bernard's heart is to take AHRK to business. He's the business guy. And so his collaborative connections look different than the collaborative connections in my world. So as AHRK lives in me, it looks different. It looks more community. It looks more nonprofit, whatever the language is. Now, we are better when we do it together. So if Bernard and I go to business, I bring mine, he brings his, and now that business gets something unique and different. Now, what just happened here is Bernard and Casey and Tim are now thinking about, where do we go next? I think we should go to Southeast Asia.
Love it.
And
I'm ready.
Tim, I think you have a way for this to go to Southeast Asia, and you have an insight about what you are going to bring, but you don't have to go alone. We're going to go with you. And that's the one by one by one. So it's not about us creating the door and saying, all right, this is how you get into AHRK. It's about us opening that door, inviting you in, and then following you back out that same door.
So if people want to steep in this thinking, where could they go to do that now?
So many places. We have the podcast, the Circles Now app that has all of the insight line, the podcast, the courses, and the content to experience. And we're adding more content regularly to that. The workshops that you encountered. Our social media is massive. We're constantly on social media, talking to people, engaging people. Many people just post. We post, but we engage people. We want to know who's out there. What's going on, and it's not therapy; it's engagement. We're not we're not there to solve any one issue. It's bringing awareness, and so it's a different paradigm because we're not out to solve 8 billion people. We don't want that job. This is not about solving 8 billion people. This is about living loved, celebrating life, and inviting others into the same reality. So for me, all of these touch points that I talked about bring measures of hope.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody can come to any one touch point and they get this much from here, this much from here, then they are better off than the day before. Now, the next day, come back and do it again.
So from a business perspective, what would be the return on investment for participating in a program like this?
Because you think of the community element of it. We bring our connections to the mix. You bring your connections to the mix. Somebody else brings their connection to the mix, and it's a buffet. You're serving to an audience going, before today, our audience didn't know Tim. And tomorrow, as Casey said, you're going to take us with you to Asia and go, well, they didn't have AHRK before. And go, well, what would happen if we got a little bit of Tim and we got a little bit of Ryan and a little bit of Craig? What happens to our communities if everybody starts getting a little bit more hope than they had the day before? And so that the business element is there's an economic model of growth that's exponential because instead of spending money on other things, people would spend money for growth and life betterment, and to be in community with like-minded people.
So to accent
So
that
that's the
question, within the app, whether it's a membership or in-app purchases, there's more. Right now, our team building sessions have been opened up for anybody to experience them, but they won't stay wide open all the time, because there's going to be a registration portal. There's going to be a limit to how many people can come in to really make that gameplay experience. As you talk about that transcendence, that happens in different settings. So as we build different opportunities for people to come in, there is a scaling that needs to take place. But right now, what the focus is both the relationships, the branding, and the consistency of what we offer and how we do it. Podcast, go for it. It's free. AHRK Path, go find it. This conversation, it's not happening because it was free. It's happening because we all paid the price to get here. It took our time, it took our energy, it took our effort, but it was worth it because we grabbed onto the K and we said, I'm going to be better for doing it. And the person I'm going to grab to join me is going to be better for doing it. And this is where Bernard was giving the exponential model, where we all have an abundance mentality of the AHRK Path. We don't have to fight for the last coin.
And this is for a program like this, because in most of the world, there's not a lot of hope. And there's less and less hope in many developing countries that I work in, and that you all have contact with. So there's a lot of there's a lot of defeat. There's a feeling of defeat and pessimism. So the idea of providing a growth mindset, bringing a growth mindset to the table, is a game changer. And it's not initially obvious how what you're doing opens up that pathway. Although I understand it, how would you put that in your own words?
Let me give you the fullness of our intellectual property. As business leaders, as a businessman, I have copyrighted and trademarked my intellectual property. I own it. Okay. Now I will license it out to you. I will let you look at it from a distance. I own it. It's mine. Our intellectual property is this. It's 4 words. And what we've come to is we want to share our intellectual property, and inviting others, come share. Today, the hopelessness is because leadership and businessmen and women around the world, everybody that thinks that to get into business means that I got to hold it tight. And the reality is to hold it and to share. Well, the social media and the internet blew up the world. Why? It's because there's so much free. But what happened to that free, everybody all of a sudden started having access more. Oh my gosh, now I know more. Now I want more. It was the exact opposite. It's called a kingdom model, actually. And so it's this whole concept of, well, how do we bring more to the world? Well, we have it. It's not hidden, but we refuse to collaborate with each other. We refuse to share it, going, well, what's in it for me right now? Well, let's give it out. Let's see how it changes the world, and let's see what we get back in. And I promise you, the financial model is exponential if, as leaders, as business leaders and social leaders and religious leaders, whatever it is, if we start collaborating together to bring more of everything to every place in the world, there is a bigger economic model.
So a lot of places I work, when we say kingdom, would have perhaps a different understanding than anybody on this call. So how would one explain kingdom to, in your perspective, to someone of a different faith, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh? How would you explain kingdom to them?
Love that question, and one of my joys is recognizing that we do have an understanding that there are limitations in words, and so we're taking words back. We want to own and go, I'm not going to give up this word because it might mean something different to somebody else. I'm going to define it. And as we look at kingdom, that kingdom moment lasts but a second. And we're trying to extend that second. So what I like to ask people is, have you ever felt like you were in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, and it just felt like, oh my gosh, if the world could stop, I would have touched what I was here to touch. And if somebody says yes, I go, that's a kingdom moment. And if somebody says no, I go, would you want to find that moment? Because if you are in pursuit of that moment, you believe that there is a design and destiny for you to show up on the world stage, for you to say, this is what I was designed for. So there is a perspective of AHRK that says each human has worth and value and purpose and intent to make a difference and to bring betterment. So that is the foundation of how we are going to get to kingdom, is that little acknowledgement of there's something for me to do and I want to touch it. Now, as we expand that, where does the kingdom concept, one of my favorite places the kingdom concept was birthed, comes out of my own upbringing, because as Bernard has already highlighted, AHRK is personal. So my lens of kingdom is going to be different than somebody else's. So let me take you to where kingdom started for me, Walt Disney. I stepped into a magic kingdom, and he revealed that in this place, behind these walls, there's a reality that exists in Disneyland where magic is not only possible, it takes you on adventure. It takes you to tomorrow, it takes you to the past, it takes you to the future, the present, and in this kingdom, it's magical. And so as I encountered the kingdom magic of Disneyland, it created a willingness for me to go, that is real. Then it opens up into other domains of individual experiences. And then I looked at the kings and queens of the world. Go to England, go to other places around the world where they have these monarchs and dynasties. The king has dominion. The queen has hierarchy and power. So the kingdom element is a place where your power and your authority are on display in a region. Along the AHRK path, we're inviting people to recognize that you have power and authority in a region, in a geography, in a purpose, in a passion. And then that also threads through for those who may not share in a Christian lens or a biblical lens, but those that do have that go, oh, I've heard that word before, but I haven't ever applied it that way. So there's a movement from the left to the right to the left, from the top to the bottom, where people are beginning to find freedom to go, is there something in me that is crying out to know that I have a unique place in this world? We say yes. And the AHRK path opens up that conversation for the 8 billion people.
Oh, that. I'm going to give a much shorter answer.
Of course.
Because he captured all. So I'm going to simplify it. For me, it's the K. There's the word joy coming out of it. There's a place of peace. There's a place of love, genuineness, authenticity. It's a place, it's a mindset that I live in, and I'm inviting you into my mindset, into this reality, and it's a friendship, and you can define it anything you want, but it's a friendship, and because ultimately that's what we're after. You know, we want to live in that love, that peace. And if we change the world while we're living in that love and peace, we did great. But if we go out to achieve peace, love, so that we can have it, we have nothing. And so to not hold the word, it's what Casey was talking about. It's just let's redefine it. But let's define it through us, through me. I define it just what you just defined it. He defines it, because that's what people need to hear. They don't know it. They don't understand it. There's a misconception about it.
So Tim, we're going to wrap this up in the next 2 minutes. And I love where you took us. And I'm not surprised where you took us. You moved us down the path of the AHRK path so far that we got to the end. And what I love about the AHRK path is it's not a one-way direction, it's a repeating pattern. And so you know what we get to do? We're going to do it again. And we're going to acknowledge, wow, this was really good. Did healing come? Did restoration come? How long did we stay in that moment? Let's do it again. So I'm going to bounce it to you to give a declaration or a insight or just a statement that is true to you. This is what I've found on the AHRK path. This is what I've experienced with team building. What would you like to leave listeners with today that is personal for you about your experience through this journey?
Well, for me personally, this is a place to try something new in a safe environment and try something new that I know will stimulate me to a greater understanding of my own self and pathways to growth.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Tim, time is valuable because we can't go back and reclaim it. And I believe that what we just did was sowing some really powerful seeds of hope that are going to be planted right here today that we're going to nurture. We're going to harvest them up and see the fruit and give it away to the world. Thank you for your investment. Thank you for joining us on Insight Line. I share that you are welcome to invite others to team building next week. It's the last week of 2022. Tuesday and Thursday at noon Pacific Standard Time, we will have team building sessions. The door is wide open, folks. We're inviting you. Tim, I hope you're going to invite a few folks and we will join as well. Thank you, Tim, for joining us today.
Have a great sunny afternoon.
We certainly will. Sunny. The sun is shining. So for everybody else, thank you again for joining us on an AHRK Insight Line. We are bringing insight to the line, and we want to see the line of your life be better, be more clear, be an insight for you. What would you like to take away from this conversation we just had with Tim?
Bring your friends. I think it's, Tim is a friend of Casey's, and without his insight into us, there wouldn't have been an opportunity to share what we believe. You wouldn't have seen parts of our character that are there. You just wouldn't have seen them. And so Tim choosing to show up on the AHRK path changed the AHRK path.
Amen.
And so what are you waiting for? Come and change the AHRK path. Come, bring your family, bring your friends. It's personal and intimate. This is not about changing somebody else. This is about celebrating life, you. And that's what the invitation is. So we thank Tim for changing us and what he brought to the AHRK path.
And if you tuned in late and you just heard Bernard say that Tim is one of Casey's friends, I want to remind you how we started the Insight Line. Tim and I bumped into each other at a Rotary meeting, and he's from Kansas City, and I'm in Southern California. So yeah, Tim is a friend of mine, but wherever you are at, my Rotary meets every Wednesday virtually. You can join me there and become my friend in the Rotary and then find your way to the AHRK path. We're on social media. Guess what? I've got a couple thousand friends. Would you like to be one? Join us on social media. But most importantly, jump in our world for the AHRK path. Follow us. Listen to us on the podcast. Join us into a team building session. Download the app. It's called Circles Now. That's a plural, Circles, N-O-W. You can find it on your app store. We want to spend some time with you. We'd love to become your friends. And so that is part of our journey to be authentically who we are. It's what you get. Thanks for joining us today on an Insight Line. We will be back again. Talk to you soon.